Welcome to the History AI podcast, where the past comes alive with facts, anecdotes, and a dash of humor. Here are your hosts, Chuck and Marco.
Welcome back, history buffs, to the History AI podcast. I'm your co-host Chuck, joined as always by the man with an impressive collection of useless trivia and oddly specific war stories, Marco.
Guilty as charged, Chuck. And today, we've got a special episode for you. Not only are we diving into the fascinating Battle of Campeche, but we've got a guest host joining us, my nephew and Chuck's son CJ.
That's right. CJ is a big fan of naval history, and we recently discovered that he's also got impeccable birthday plans. CJ, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. I'm thrilled to be here. And yes, my birthday plans were on point. I spent the day aboard the USS Lexington down in Corpus Christi. Amazing museum, by the way. While there, I checked out an exhibit on the Texas Navy, and it got me thinking about this lesser-known but wildly important battle, Campeche.
First of all, happy belated birthday. And second, wow, talk about the perfect place to get inspired for an episode. The Battle of Campeche is such a cool story. It's like the Texas Navy went, yeah, we know we're outnumbered and outgunned, but watch us make history anyway.
Agreed. This battle is one of those moments in history that's so underrated but so important. Before we jump in, CJ, quick question, what was the best part of the USS Lexington visit?
Honestly, the flight deck. Seeing those planes up close, imagining the action they saw, it was incredible. Especially the F-14 Tomcat from the original Top Gun movie. But I also love the naval exhibits, especially the one on the Texas Navy. They did a fantastic job showing how scrappy and determined those sailors were.
The Texas Navy, scrappy, determined, and just a little bit stubborn. Sounds about right. Let's set the stage for the Battle of Campeche. Chuck, you want to start us off?
You got it. All right, history fans, picture this. It's the early 1840s, and the Republic of Texas is doing its best to stay independent. Mexico is still not thrilled about Texas breaking away, and they're looking for any chance to reassert control. Enter the Texas Navy, this ragtag but surprisingly effective maritime force. They had a mission to protect Texas from Mexican attacks and, when possible, to hit back.
Right. But Campeche wasn't just a battle between Texas and Mexico. Oh no, things get more interesting. CJ, you want to explain the wild curveball in this story?
Absolutely. So, here's the twist. Mexico wasn't fighting alone. They'd hired the services of the infamous Yucatan fleet and, wait for it, a pair of ironclads from the French. These ironclads were state-of-the-art at the time. We're talking steam-powered, heavily armored warships that were leagues ahead of the wooden sailing ships the Texas Navy had.
Meanwhile, the Texas Navy is rolling in with, well, not ironclads. Their flagship, the Austin, and her companion, the Wharton, were impressive for their time, but still wooden sailing ships armed with cannons. To call this a David and Goliath situation feels like an understatement.
Exactly. But here's where the story gets wild. Despite the odds, the Texas Navy teamed up with rebels from the Yucatan region, who were fighting for independence from Mexico. So you've got this odd alliance, Texans and Yucatecans, against the Mexican Navy and those French ironclads.
And this is where the Battle of Campeche really earns its place in history. On April 30, 1843, the two fleets clashed off the coast of Campeche. It was one of the last major naval battles fought with both wooden ships and ironclads. The Texas Navy knew they couldn't go toe-to-toe with the ironclads in a straight fight, so they relied on clever tactics and sheer determination.
Which brings us to one of the coolest parts of this story, the Texans' use of long-range artillery. The Austin and Wharton were equipped with long guns that could outrange the ironclads. They used this advantage to harass the enemy from a distance, constantly maneuvering to stay out of range of the French ships' devastating firepower.
And let's not forget the sheer grit of the Texas sailors. They endured days of battle in brutal heat, under constant threat of being blown out of the water by those ironclads. CJ, what stood out to you about this part of the story?
For me, it's how outmatched they were on paper but still held their own. The Austin's captain, Edwin Wardmore, was a tactical genius. He turned what should have been a total rout into a strategic draw. Even though the battle didn't have a definitive winner, Texas achieved its goal of keeping Mexico from reclaiming the Yucatan and, by extension, threatening Texas directly.
So, the battle lasted for days, and by the end, both sides were battered. The French ironclads were tough, but they couldn't capture or sink the Texas ships. Meanwhile, the Mexican fleet was forced to retreat.
And here's the kicker, this was the only recorded naval engagement where wooden ships successfully held off ironclads. That's not just Texas history, that's world history.
It really is. And it's a testament to the ingenuity and bravery of the Texas Navy. They didn't have the best technology, but they had heart and strategy, and sometimes, that's enough to make history.
So what happened after the battle? Well, for Texas, it was a morale boost, but it didn't change the Republic's precarious situation. The Texas Navy was eventually disbanded due to political infighting and lack of funds. But the legacy of the Battle of Campeche lived on.
And it's a legacy worth celebrating. It's not every day that you see the underdog pull off a move like that. CJ, any final thoughts?
Just that this battle is such a great example of how history is full of these incredible, under-the-radar stories. It's been awesome diving into it with you guys, and honestly, I think I'm going to spend the rest of my birthday week rereading about the Texas Navy.
Love it. And CJ, thanks for joining us. It's been a blast having you on the show.
Anytime. This was great.
Before we wrap up, a quick shout out to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate us 5 stars, subscribe, and share with your friends. Your support helps us keep bringing these stories to life.
And don't forget, you can suggest topics for future episodes on our social media. Plus, check out the link in the show notes for our merch store. Let everyone know you're a history buff.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and remember, history is everywhere.
Thanks for listening to the History AI podcast. See you next time. Looking for the perfect way to show appreciation for the incredible mom in your life? Discover Exhausted Moms, a coloring journey to relaxation and humor, the coloring book that speaks directly to the heart of motherhood. Gift her an escape into pages of laughter, empowerment, and moments of tranquility. With Exhausted Moms, she'll find a blend of whimsical illustrations and inspiring quotes that celebrate her daily triumphs and challenges. Crafted with love from images I created for the mother of my children, each page offers a space for creativity and relaxation, a reminder that she's doing an amazing job, even on the toughest days. Give the gift of laughter, peace, and recognition. Exhausted Moms isn't just a coloring book, it's a hug, a nod of understanding, and a token of appreciation for everything she does. Surprise her with Exhausted Moms today and watch her face light up with joy. Because every mom deserves a moment to herself, wrapped in the colors of love and support.